Right, let me go ahead and share my screen, and then we'll have the document displayed. So we have ICT and employment. So ICT and employment. All right, so I want to believe that the document has loaded now. It has just shown from my end that it has loaded. So let me also be clear from your end, is the document displaying? So we be sure that we have the resource on your end as well. Yes, let me get a chat to confirm. Yes, so is the document displaying? So I don't assume just go on without you actually being able to work with me on that. Okay, so thank you so much. Linda is confirming there that the document is displayed. So we'll go ahead and look at the content, the concepts that are raised here. Now, the issue of employment and the ICT has been a debate for quite some time, and I think now that the discussion. Thank you also for Ngeno and Wanjala. Thank you for confirming. So this debate has been there for quite a while. I think this debate actually could be extended beyond ICT. It's like more an issue of technology. Sometimes the technology, of course, technology is always meant to be positive, to enhance certain things and make things maybe be handled more efficiently, effectively, maybe add to productivity. But sometimes also it has created a concern as to whether it affects employment. Sometimes the people argue that technology, or in this case ICT, may have caused some people to lose employment. But let's see what this document says about these issues. All right, so at the introduction part here, I'm looking for the scroll bar. Seems to be missing here. All right, let me see if I can access the scroll bar. Sometimes the system seems to be slow in responding this time, but all right, I may have to share this because not scrolling. This is Microsoft Word, but I'm using a computer that doesn't have Microsoft Word. Instead, it's using what is called Google Docs. So sorry, I'll be forced to share this document because it is currently not scrolling for me. All right, so sorry for that. Let me reshare the document. It's not scrolling down for me. We check what could be causing that. All right, let's see if I hope to also load quickly like it had done before. All right, so as I was saying, so sometimes of course the people argue on both sides of the concern whether the document ICT. Sorry, I think I am the one who is, okay, I'm going to the wrong one. All right, so this is the one which we are sharing. All right, now it is scrolling well. Okay, all right. Okay, so we just look at the content there. It says debates about the effects of IT on work present many conflicting images. Critics envision an information age marked by mass unemployment and dehumanize the work for those remaining in the workforce. Now, this debate has been going on for quite a while, but so at the moment, I think we may not always say some of these statements. I think some of them are now not, it has already been found that some of them may not really be very strong positions, or you cannot say exactly this way at the moment. So some things have changed, and some of these are covered out here. So going to this area here, it says ICT affected employment in many ways. And those are jobs that have been lost, jobs that have been created, and jobs that have changed. So we have now we look at ICT in a different perspective, in that some jobs, yes, may have been lost. Maybe somebody was employed in some type of work, and then the computer came, or ICT technology came, and it was found that now that area needs to be computerized, and maybe the individual did not have the skills that are required for a computerized situation, and so the job was lost. But we realize that in the same way, of course, some jobs have been created, and of course, also some jobs have changed. And that is what the next part here is looking at. What are some of the jobs that have been lost? And the introductory statement there says that there are indications to suggest that jobs could be lost through three main channels. One is obsolescence, the other one is automation, and the other one is disintermediation. And these concepts here are covered here. So I don't intend to look at these text, one by one throughout, but just highlight some of the issues or examples of situations that are related to those statements. Is, for example, in a factory, skilled technicians and machinists can be replaced by computer-controlled robots, etc. So jobs, the case of new skills, and so causing jobs to be lost. And then when you come to a place like in the warehouse, it says many loading and sorting jobs have been replaced by a few staff running computer-controlled warehouse. So when, of course, is the issue of databases. Of course, the warehouse is a big store, but whatever is done there could be replaced by a computer-controlled warehouse, etc. So again, some jobs there may be lost. So essentially, it's not the job, but it's people losing their employment, because it says here we only need a few staff. But again, of course, those staff needs to have the right skills if they are going to be retained. So this, as I said, I don't intend to look at every type of text here. Most of these are not very, very new concepts. I'm sure you'll be interacting with many of these concepts all along. Okay, in office, many payroll clerks using calculators and paper-based records can be replaced by one person using a spreadsheet to calculate a company's payroll. So we just seeing some of the issues, some of the situations where, yes, jobs can be lost. But jobs can be created, and we have seen many jobs. Of course, first of all, those that are training in ICT, of course, they are looking forward to some jobs that are based on ICT, and so jobs have been created. And the statement there says that computerization has created many new jobs or radically changed existing jobs. So, for example, engineers are needed to build the new computerized machines, and the programmers, of course, are needed to write the new programs that the computers do run. So, especially these where jobs have been created, much of it is those that are associated with using the computer to do those particular work, or at least to do the computerization, creating maybe hardware, creating programs, or being programmers, designing things like websites. So, of course, those jobs that require something that has to do with what is learned in computer-based courses, like Bachelor of Science in IT, diploma, certificate, etc., computer science, etc. So the areas that require those skills that are taught in those particular courses, of course, we can say that the jobs have been created. And of course, even people that don't necessarily are not based on computer-based courses, they have also found certain, the use of course, if somebody is, for example, is a hotel which could use computer-based, what we call now the e-commerce. They can use e-commerce. So, of course, it means that somebody there might be employed who is, of course, based on the computer-based units, but the main job there is, of course, to create efficiency in a hotel, for example, a booking for accommodation and things like that. And of course, we have seen these in so many other areas, but maybe that one would probably come under jobs change. So people have also experienced the jobs change. So here it says that people may work fewer hours as a result of the increased efficiency of automation and the introduction of ICT into new workplace. So we find that some jobs and some issues relating to jobs have changed because of the entry of ICT. And one of those is a concept of teleworking, which we'll be looking at. So it says many people can now work from home using teleworking. So together with certain, productivity, efficiency, and of course, as it says here, many professional jobs can now be done by amateurs, people that are not necessarily very good at that and probably never trained in whatever it's talking about here. Can be done by amateurs using home computer. So, for example, photographic editing, video editing, and sound editing. So we find that just by having some good skills in the use of the computer and some maybe knowing some applications, some programs, how they can handle certain things. Like now, this one is talking about editing a video and a sound. So actually this could actually be a creating of a job because it may be now this is a work that could be done by somebody who is not necessarily, they didn't train necessarily in issues relating to video editing and all that, but because they know how to use a computer and they know how to, they can learn. Either they can go and, of course, learn do some training on a certain program, or they can do self-training through the various materials in the computer, in the internet, for example, and they actually create their own job, so to speak. So there is creating of jobs, there is a changing of jobs, how they are handled, etc. And so we have already highlighted the concept of teleworking, and we'll be looking at that in a short while. So there are many things that the ICT, we can say, is positive about it. While some people may say that it has created unemployment, but at the same time, we see that there is also a creating of jobs, and there is also having some positive impact again in certain ways, probably increasing productivity, etc. Some very positive things. And of course, I would think that the positives are far much higher than the cry about unemployment as far as ICT is concerned. And so we now look at this concept of telecommuting, which is similar to teleworking. So teleworking, telecommuting, but the main word actually is about telecommuting. So what is this concept about telecommuting, and how does the ICT come in? Of course, we can see the statement there. Telecommuting is the use of computers and other internet technologies to enable an employee to work off-site and outside the traditional workplace. This could include working partially, like 1 to 3 days a week from home, or working entirely at home, corresponding when necessary with the employer. So telecommuting is the use of computers and other internet technologies to enable an employee to work off-site and outside the traditional workplace. So that is actually the core definition. The rest of the statement there is mainly about, it's more of giving more weight to the explanation. But it's also important, says this could include working partially, like 1 to 3 days a week from home, or working entirely at home, corresponding when necessary with the employer. So telecommuting, of course, it's so normally associated with working from home, but telecommuting may be looked at beyond somebody working from home, and talk about at least working away from your traditional workplace, where your physical offices are. Is saying you don't have to travel to where your physical office is, but you can work and still continue to do your work away from the physical office and still accomplish your work, as long as there is a good agreement between the employer and the employee. So as it continues, they are making use of information, or making use of ICT to practice some form of a remote working. So that's an alternative way of describing this telecommuting, making use of ICTs to practice some form of remote working. All right. So telecommuting is moving the work to the workers instead of the workers moving to work. This document also explains about types of telecommuting. I think that I can let the student read later on your own what are the various types of telecommuting, and it's just a general description of various types. And of course, this is borrowed from the company that talk about this company. Cisco Systems classified commuters in 3 types, and they are indicated there. So I think that you can read later. And then we have a positive impact of telecommuting to individuals. So we have a positive impact. We also have some negative impact. This, of course, is when it is looked, doing some kind of an observation as to how telecommuting impact on individuals, as well as the organization, of course, that these individuals work in. So again, this one, I think both of these areas I will let the student read on your own, but I will highlight a few of the ones which are raised here. What are some of those? So just highlighting a few is that one of the positive impact is that more time at home with the family. So if one is allowed to do telecommuting, then they can be able to have more time at home with family. Then, of course, there is a money savings. Of course, this is debatable. But of course, here, especially, we are thinking in terms of the transport and the way that the fact that you are working away from home, then it means that you might also spend more in having some lunch and a few other things that relate to somebody being away from home. So there could be some money savings, but as I say, that is also debatable because working from home may also mean certain other expenses which we may not debate now. Okay, there is a decreased sick time. Of course, again, this is also based on the fact that if you are traveling, then you're like, of course, you will get tired. Traveling means tiredness, and that could also be an area that could weaken the body and cause somebody to get sick more than if they are just at home. But again, that's also debatable, but it is a positive impact that is likely to happen. So I think I will let the student read the rest. Quite a good list here, but certainly there are quite a number of good impact, some good contributions, positive contributions that teleworking can bring. What about negative impacts? So there are also some negative impacts, like lack of social contact. Of course, it is good, of course, to have interaction with other colleagues. And also there are certain other dimensions of social issues that are important that may be lost when somebody is doing telecommuting. And so that's one of them, lack of social contact, lack of participating in group projects. Of course, that's also important. Of course, that almost has to do with the teamwork. You are not participating in a project as a team, and that is likely to suffer if individuals are doing telecommuting. And suppose the whole company decides that everybody is telecommuting, of course, there are some negative impacts, including the ones which are listed here. But one which I think is good to highlight is this one about work hours. Work hours become longer. So you might find that if you are doing telecommuting, you are not able to limit your sense of how much work, or at least when you should end doing the work that you have in your hands. And sometimes it may not be very clear to your employer that the so much work may be pushed to your end without being able to measure how much is really sufficient for a day. So the employer may just keep on pushing work to the employee who is working from home, and again, so as it says there is a possibility of work hours becoming longer. You might just find that you're actually getting overworked. And because you are not at the physical place of work, it's hard to talk about overtime. How do you measure overtime when somebody is already at home? You're not at the workplace. At the workplace, that's where we can say now, time is over. Now it is 5. You should now not be working. You should be at home or something like that. And so it is easy to talk about what we call extra time. But now this one is not possible to talk about that somebody is working extra hours or things like that. And so you might find that you are actually working, actually getting overworked. Your work hours become longer. So again, quite a number of other impacts, negative impacts of telecommuting are described here. But again, I will let you read the whole list at your time. Kindly look at that. There are also issues relating to how does it impact on business and organizations. So again, I will let the student look at this. But one of the things that is highlighted many times is that sometimes it provides increased productivity. Sometimes, of course, that happens. And then the number one here is also a good to look at. It could utilize abilities of the disabled. So, of course, the people that have certain disabilities, they may find it, this traveling, of course, is quite a challenge sometimes. And so if they are working from home or from some place where they don't have to travel to the office, then you can find that that may really provide a good opportunity for somebody with a disability to also get involved and utilize their abilities, the abilities that they have, the talents that they have through teleworking. So quite a number of impacts are there, but now these ones look very positive, but sometimes some organizations have also noted some negative impact of teleworking, and actually some organizations do not want to engage in teleworking. So although this list is so positive, we must accept that some organizations do not actually look at it as all through as positive. And in fact, actually, some of the negatives are noticed or are noted here as well. For example, there is this one. I think this is the only one that look like very negative. Possibility of losing control over employees. So, of course, there are some negative impacts that could also arise, and that could be one of them. But again, look at that list. Then telecommuting technologies. I will let the student read that. Please look at that. Well, how do you enable telecommuting? And I'm sure some of these are mentioned here. They are not very new, and especially for the experience that the students are going through at ZTech University, and also the employees. What we are doing right now is actually telecommuting. Of course, it was not designed. It just happened that this was the only way out to make sure that learning continues. And we are grateful to God that so many positive things are going on well in this concept. But so as you look at telecommuting technologies, I want to believe that most of these will come alive because you are already experiencing them. And this document, we will not go beyond there, but I want to highlight that there is another document that I'd like you to also make reference to. It approaches the same concept from a different perspective and also adds a few more concepts. And so let me just display it, and then I can say a few things about it. So let me remove share this. Let me stop sharing this one, and I'm going to load another one, which I'm actually not going to say too many things about it. Just highlight a few things. So this one is a different document, which is actually I have actually gotten this content directly from a book, which I'm also going to recommend that book. I have a copy of this book, and although it is a lot of it is based on the American life, I would like you to use it to read this the materials that are given in this book. So these are chapter 8 of this particular book, and I've labeled, this is actually relabeled this particular topic from the book. So these are, I've just extracted this from a book and made it into a kind of a document, a separate document that is just outside of the book. But almost everything is what is in the book. So let me try to see if I can expand. So this particular document is about the same concepts, but it is approaching it from a different perspective. And also it is not highlighting so much on the impact of ICT on employment per se, but it is focusing more on how has ICT impacted on what it is calling productivity. So you're saying the impact of IT on the standard of living and worker productivity. So it is more focusing on worker productivity and standard of living, and it is not discussing so much of whether employment has been affected or not. But I think it's a good document. It's a good material for you also to look at and look at the concepts that are highlighted in this particular document. I think it is also going to be part of materials that could also be brought in an exam for this particular unit. So the impact of IT on the standard of living and the worker productivity. Now, what I want you to do is to just read mainly the highlighted parts rather than the whole document. Now, these are whole chapter from a book, but I want you to only read the highlighted portions for the sake of avoiding to read things that are not so much necessary for us in terms of the unit, or the content for the unit. But of course, even the parts that are not highlighted are just as good. But as I said, also, this document is based on of course, whoever wrote this based his research in the US life. But most of these things are happening globally. They are not just happening in US, and so it is completely relevant. The only what is not relevant maybe is some of the examples that are given, some of the companies that are given, they are US companies and things like that. But the core concept in each area is actually something that we are experiencing beyond the US. So I think let me just read this statement here. The standard of living varies greatly among groups within a country, as well as from nation to nation. The most widely used measurement of the material standard of living is gross domestic product per capita. And national GDP represents the total annual output of a nation's economy. Overall, industrialized nations tend to have a higher standard of living than developing countries. And then, of course, it tries to give examples that, as I said, are based on US life. Just note a few things, and then we should today. I won't keep the class for too long. This is being an introductory class for me as the lecturer for this unit. I will just highlight a few things, and then we'll close a little early today. So let me just highlight a few things from this particular document, and we should be closing in a short while. All right, so IT investment and productivity. So how has IT impacted on investment and productivity? So it says that productivity is defined as the amount of output produced per unit of input, and it is measured in many different ways. So, for example, productivity in a factory might be measured by the number of labor hours it takes to produce one item. So, based on that, so how can we measure productivity? So it's giving us just a way that could be used, or it's guiding towards coming up with a way of measuring this productivity that we are talking about. So let me move somewhere here. It says that these gains in productivity have led to the increases in the GDP-based standard of living, because the average hour of labor produce more goods and services. So of course it is arguing that there is a possibility that ICT has actually impacted positively in productivity. And of course, when we think about automation, so we are probably being able to produce more within a shorter time, or we produce maybe the same but with less employees. If you are producing the same but with less employees, it means that the company is keeping more profit, and that of course would be looked at as positive as far as productivity is concerned. So read all the portions that are highlighted when you get this document. Now it is not yet posted. I will post it in a short while, within the next few minutes after we end this session. These highlighted portions, and I'm skipping many of them. I just want, as I said, I don't want to keep us long for today, but let me look at one other portion here. Maybe this one could be a good area to highlight. So it's saying something here. All right, it says there is of course the relationship between IT and investment and productivity. It's saying it's not very clear as to how can we tell whether the IT is creating a positive impact, or maybe also the other way around, a negative impact. But here we are looking at the positive side of things, that how can we tell really that ICT is causing positive impact on investment and productivity. So he says another explanation for the complex relationship between IT investment and productivity growth lies in the fact that many other factors influence worker productivity. And so it is hard to know if we are noticing something positive. How can we tell whether it is because of ICT, or maybe it is because there are other factors that also are part of the whatever is happening there? But anyway, we want to be positive that ICT is creating a positive impact on productivity and investment. And he's saying that, so I think, let me sorry, this document, as I said, is I'm just editing it. And I think there are some parts that I need to make better. So saying that another explanation of the complex relation between IT investment and productivity growth lies in the fact that many other factors influence productivity. And then this statement is continuing down here. So those rates could be influenced also by things like overall economic climate, the flexibility of the labor market, the actions taken by the private industry, and the changes in supply and demand. So there could be other factors. So the argument there is that it is not very easy to tell, or this measuring this productivity is not very easy. While we feel that there is a positive impact on productivity, but sometimes it's not very easy to measure that. And that is the whole concept there that this area is highlighting. But let me go down to another issue here, which you've already talked about from the other document, is the issue of telework, right? Telework and telecommuting. And it says that here that factors that have increased the prevalence of telework include all that. So telework here, so again, there is the issue of telework there. So just highlighting without taking us through that, say telework. So read this as well and see what this document also says about teleworking or telecommuting, including the definitions and all that. So just highlighting, don't intend really to discuss it, but look at this so that you can look at teleworking also from the perspective that this document brings out. And as I had said earlier on, some organizations are not looking at teleworking very positively. It says here, however, not all organizations are fully supportive of telework. So what are the reasons? So again, some reasons are given there. Again, I'm just highlighting without necessarily wanting to discuss through this. So look at that. It's very, very important that you look at this as well. And something that is related to teleworking, although it's very not teleworking, but it's a completely different concept, is the concept of something called telehealth. And I think that's also going to be important. Okay, of course, I read this issue about the digital divide. Of course, some issues that are brought by ICT, issues about the digital divide. I'm sure this is a concept that many of you are familiar with, but maybe that one I can read as we move on. When people talk about standard of living, they are often referring to a level of material comfort measured by the goods, services, and luxuries available to a person, group, or nation. Factors beyond the GDP is the measurement of standard of living. And as I said, we just focus on the highlighted parts. So another indicator of standard of living is the availability of information and communications technology. Another indicator of standard of living is the availability of information and communication technology. The digital divide is a term used to describe the gap between those who do and those who don't have access to modern information and communications technology, such as cell phones, smartphones, personal computers, and the internet. So the concept of the digital divide. So I think that will be also important to look at more closely and can capture every thought that is highlighted there. But as I said, keep only to the highlighted sections. Of course, there is just one chapter, but the material is a lot, and maybe it is not necessary to read the whole of that. All right, so how do we deal with the digital device? So some suggestions are given here, but then I want to move to another concept called telehealth. Telehealth, so of course, it's almost like we were talking about teleworking, but there is also telehealth. Okay, so I think it starts somewhere here. All right, sorry, I think it's still talking about digital divide, but it's telehealth somewhere, should be somewhere. Just want to highlight, but it's here in the document. So I think that is just talking about health in general. What's the impact of ICTs in health? And of course, we know ICT has impacted quite a lot in health. But okay, so all that material is important, all that the parts that are highlighted. And then there is telehealth. So telehealth is almost the same, similar concept as teleworking. But now we are looking at it from, now is this about, again, of course, providing health or something that is related to health, but without being physically present where the need is. So telehealth, and again, of course, it's, as explained here, all the definitions are given, and a few more issues relating to telehealth are given. Telemedicine, which is part of telehealth, telemedicine. So look at all this, it's very helpful. It's an important material to what we have just looked at from the material we had earlier on, focusing on ICT and employment. So this is another material that I would like you to look at. And but as I said, since I have not edited yet, I've left still a lot of words in the chapter as it is from the book. So just skip the parts that are not highlighted. But if I manage quickly to remove the other sections, then it will be better. But if I don't manage, I will just send it as it is, post it on our portal, and you look at the highlighted parts only. Well, I think that is enough for today in terms of my presentation. So I will let you, I will just ask a few minutes. We make sure that we now conclude on the issue of the day and time. I think this is a good day and time for this particular unit, so that we are able to continue without losing too many classes. And so I think you should not be worried about. Earlier on, I had, I think it was a WhatsApp discussion with one of you about the timing. That you have an 8 a.m. class that ends at 11. But that's how the timetable this time looks like. There is no breathing space between one unit and the next. And so I think that is already part of our experience, so we can live with that. And as I was saying, is that most of the time it's unlikely that if a class says it's 8 to 11, it's unlikely that the lecturer will go all the way up to 11. The lecturer is likely to allow the student to use some of the time for other activities, and if the student can finish in good time, then the coming class can start right at the time that it is allocated to start. So the focus is more on starting the class than the ending. Of course, I'm just about to do to end this class a little earlier and let you also do that quiz. Now, that quiz that I said is based on some of the concepts that are discussed in the document that is already on the portal, and it's just more of helping to do a review of some of the concepts that are said there. But it's also important for our activity. So in a very short while, I'll be letting you to move to the quiz and do an activity for this session. Yes, so there is somebody who is asking here about when will we have a cut. Well, that will have to wait because now we have already done our cut one. We did cut one for this unit. Remember that. We already did cut one for this unit online. So we are now looking at assignments and the cut two. So maybe the assignments are the ones which are a bit late. So I should be posting assignment. Now I know I have posted for some units, but I'm not remembering for this unit. So I should be posting assignment one very soon. Hopefully before the end of this week, I should have posted assignment one. And then as we continue, of course, there will be assignment two. Now, cut two will have to wait, and Okay, sorry, students. There was a blackout on my end, but I think now we are back. I can see the power is back, and I think the network as well. So sorry for that interruption. So I think I was just highlighting a few issues relating to me being the unit lecturer for this particular unit as well. So we'll have to wait until we are clear from the department whether we should wait for CAT to be done together again, CAT 2 to be done together again as we did with CAT 1 through a schedule, or it will just be left to the lecturer. We are yet to confirm that. But the assignments, those ones, of course, as I said, I will be posting assignment 1 within this week, and then later assignment 2. In terms of the unit materials, we have some materials that Madam S had prepared, and I think we'll just continue with those ones. Quite a number of them are already posted, but which are not open until we get to the week when the topic will be discussed. Those materials will remain there. But once in a while, depending on the topic, I'm likely to be adding some extra materials to just, of course, that would depend on the content that I will find in the documents that are already displayed for you at the portal. Except that these materials, the extra materials that I will add, I'll probably just add them as a document, notes, a document for extra notes at the portal. So as I said, the one which we have that I've just highlighted, coming from a book written by somebody called Reynolds. And in fact, I think I should also post that a copy of that book, if it will, the system will allow. I will try to post that document, and then you can also download the document if you want to have that document, which is actually the whole book, but which has been converted into a document that you can actually have your own copy, a Microsoft Word version, and as well as I think I'll post the one which is Microsoft Word, the one which I've also been using to do those highlighting. I think the one which is highlighted might be better, so I'll probably send you or have the one which is Microsoft Word format. I posted at the portal if it will accept, and then you can download and have your own copy of that book. Otherwise, unless there are questions right now, areas of clarification, then we should be closing in the next few minutes. So any issues of clarification, of course, there are those that we've already asked, which I've answered about the CAT, so that is a position. Any other issue that you would like Mwalimu to address at this time, you can raise it. Then through the chat space, it seems to work very well about that. Okay, but don't forget, as soon as the Mwalimu's presentation is come to an end, look at the quiz and respond to the quiz before you leave the session completely. So look at the quiz, and it's just a few questions there, just for review that are there. Then you can respond to them before you finally log out of the session. But for now, I'm waiting if there is any issue, clarification, or a question or anything that you would like to raise at this time, then which Mwalimu can respond to. Of course, I also allow the students to respond to some of the issues that may be raised. Yes, so I'm waiting for that. A few minutes. All right. As I'm waiting for any comment or question, clarification, or any other type. Otherwise, I think then we'll reach there for the lecture's presentation. I think we are good with this day, as we said, so we'll keep this one as our day and time for professional ethics in IT. And so thank you so much. Okay, let me see. There is a concern by Justice there about a cut, especially Part B. Yes, there is a question there about the cut, and Justice is asking about attaching a photo. Well, Mok, it's not very clear, but I thought it's about being able to access the portal where you are answering in the chat. No, so I would say it is not a required. The word required there, so I'm focusing on that. So it's not a required to attach, but if what you have done, it all depends on the type of question, the way the question is asked, and then also the resources that you have in order to provide your answers. So some questions are such that it might be easier to do the work outside of the system. It's like if you decide to instead of typing your text into the system, the Moodle system, and instead you decide to actually type it in Microsoft Word, for example, or you decide to actually do handwritten thing, especially if it's a diagram. Now, if the question is asking for a diagram, certainly it might be easier to just get a piece of paper, if possible, a plain one, if it is not requiring certain details, and then you draw your diagram. But the question is, how finally does it get into the system? And that's where we are talking about. You can take a photo of that diagram on paper, and then you do the attaching. Of course, you have now to load it in one way or the other. We talk about attaching, it's it's a photo. Of course, it's an image, which then you can load, you can upload. Say you upload it into the system. So it is not required that you should attach a photo. It all depends on the way you are answering your questions. So, and of course, if it's a diagram, then it might be difficult to do it any other way, because the system does not have very good functionalities for drawing a diagram within the system. So if it's a diagram that is needed, then this might be the only way out. But we also can attach other documents. Even other documents, you can actually take an image. Even if you have done your document as Microsoft Word, of course, it would be better to just send it as a Microsoft Word document and attach it into the system. But sometimes you can also take an image again and send it as an image, although it is text, but send it as an image. But again, but here I'm just trying to answer that it is not required that you must attach a photo. You only attach if the answer that you are giving has been done on a paper, which of course outside of the system. So how do you get it back into the system so that it becomes part of your answer? And that is when you'll be required to take a photo of that particular diagram and then attach it into the system. So it's only required if that you have put your answer. But if so, you are not allowed to draw a diagram and then send it by email. That's not allowed. So your diagram must be finally attached and put back into the exam system, the Moodle system that we are using for our online classes and exams. So I hope I caught your thought on that, Justus, and that is how I would respond to it. But otherwise, thank you, students. Thank you for being present and being active and participating. Though we did not do a lot of discussion for now, but I appreciate that you are present and listening and following on my presentation. So I will now allow you to turn to the quiz as the activity for this session and respond to the quiz. But otherwise, Mwalimu's presentation is ended here. So I wish you the very best in the remaining parts of the remaining part of the day. Have a great afternoon ahead. Goodbye.